Billionaire discovers heart-wrenching secret after seeing Black Maid comfort his disabled daughter in the opulent mansion that seemed to glimmer with wealth. A silent storm was brewing. Harold Fitzpatrick, a billionaire known for his ruthlessness in business, had built an empire from nothing. But on this fateful afternoon, he leaned against his office window, eyes narrowed against the sun, unaware that everything was about to change. It was just another day of boardroom battles and unrelenting demands. But outside, in the sun-drenched garden, something strange was unfolding, something that would rip apart the fortress around his heart. The soft sound of laughter floated through the air, piercing the walls of Harold's isolation. But it wasn't his laughter. It came from Amelia, his daughter, a little girl trapped in a wheelchair, painted with a vibrant smile that could light up the darkest places. She was with Clara, the quiet maid with a mysterious past, cultivating a bond that seemed to transcend their worlds. As Harold watched, an unexpected pang of something like jealousy, or was it fear, gripped him. What was it about Clara that drew Amelia like a moth to a flame? Curiosity gnawed at him like a ravenous beast. Harold leaned in closer, thoughts racing. Clara wasn't he like the other staff? She had a warmth that seeped through her tough facade. He glimpsed them whispering together, secrets wrapped in giggles, the colors of Amelia's laughter igniting the air like fireworks. But why? Why was this maid allowed into a space reserved for family? It made him restless. Suddenly, the laughter stopped. Silence swallowed the garden whole, thick and heavy. Harold's heart raced as he watched Clara bend down, whispering something urgently into Amelia's ear. The way Amelia's face changed, from joy to concern, sent an icy shiver down Harold's spine. What words could conjure such a transformation? Anger surged through him. What did she know that he didn't? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As Harold stepped back from the window, he felt a tightness in his chest. Something was wrong, and he could feel it like a storm brewing on the horizon. He couldn't shake the image of Clara's deep, dark eyes meeting Amelia's in an exchange too intimate for their roles. What was it? Secrets whispered in shadows, eyes darting. Harold's mind was a restless sea of questions. Why did he feel so disconnected from his own daughter, watching from a distance while someone else stepped in to fill the gaps that should be his? Could it be that Clara was hiding truths that would unravel everything Harold thought he knew about his family? The tension crackled in the air. Harold would have to find out. But how far would he go to uncover the secrets that threatened to break his family apart? The walls of the mansion felt like they were closing in, shadows creeping in every corner. What if the very foundation of his world was built on lies? What would he do next? Harold's heart pounded as he paced the floor of his office, the elegant furnishings now feeling like chains. He couldn't shake the image of Clara leaning close to Amelia, their secretive connection tugging at him in a way he couldn't comprehend. He stopped by the window once more, hoping to catch another glimpse, but the garden was a scene of stillness now, the laughter swallowed by an eerie quiet. Why was it that he felt like an outsider in his own life? Harold had built this mansion, this perfect existence filled with opulence and prestige. Yet here he was, feeling like a ghost haunting his own home while a mere maid whispered truths to his daughter, truths that twisted his stomach into knots. Desperate for answers, Harold strode toward the door, determination fueling his every step. He would confront Clara. He imagined her cowering under his glare, the air thick with guilt. But guilt for what? This wasn't just about sneaking whispers in the garden, it was about Amelia and the hidden emotions that threatened to drown him. As he descended the grand staircase, shadows flickered in the corners, light battling against the darkness creeping into his thoughts. He reached the bottom step with a jolt. There was Clara in the kitchen, chopping vegetables with an intensity that seemed almost serene, her movements sharp, precise. She didn't glance up as he entered, yet Harold felt her awareness like static in the air. "What did you tell her?" His voice rang out, startling her. Clara looked up, eyes wide. "Mr. Fitzpatrick, I don't. Just tell me what you said to Amelia." The words burst from his lips, raw and jagged. She took a breath, her hands pausing mid-action. "I was just comforting her." She was upset. Upset? About what? Is there something going on with her that I don't know? Each question struck like a hammer. Clara hesitated, a moment stretching painfully between them. "It's South, not my place to say. Amelia confides in me." "Confides in you?" Harold snapped, the grip on his patience slipping. "You're a maid, Clara. How can you take on that role?" The kitchen fell silent, the only sound the rhythmic drip of water from the sink. Clara straightened, casting her gaze down, as if measuring her words. "Sometimes, she needs someone she trusts. Someone who doesn't look at her differently." Harold's breath caught in his throat. Was that what it was? Had he failed his daughter so profoundly that a stranger had become her confidant? Anger and fear mingled inside him, igniting a fire he had kept smothered so long. "I don't need a maid to serve as her emotional crutch," he shouted, then regretted letting the words fly, his heart racing again. The thought of Amelia feeling isolated in her own home tore at him. "Just tell me the truth." The fire in Clara's eyes sparked alive then, fierce and unyielding. "Truth? What if the truth is beyond your reach, Mr. Fitzpatrick? What if understanding means letting go of that control you clutch so tightly?" The sudden shift in the atmosphere dropped the temperature in the room. Questions spiraled in Harold's mind, drowning out her challenge. What was she hiding? Was she really just a maid, or was there more to Clara that extended beyond her role? He took a step closer, barely feeling the ground beneath him. "Maybe it's time you tell me everything you know. Because if I find out you're keeping secrets from me." But Clara merely shook her head, a thin smile ghosting across her lips, one that carried mystery and defiance. "You might not like what you hear, Mr. Fitzpatrick. Sometimes, secrets hold answers, but also threats." And with those chilling words, the tension escalated into something almost tangible. The walls around Harold felt like they were twisting, bending under the weight of unspoken truths. What horrors lay beneath the surface of his pristine life? He had entered this conversation looking for answers, but now, Harold felt the icy grip of fear of the truth lurking just beneath the surface. As he backed away, dread coiling tightly within him, one haunting question cut through the air like glass: how far? Would he go to protect Amelia from the very world he had built for her? The stakes had never been higher, and the true battle was just beginning. What lay hidden beyond Clara's guarded smile? Harold staggered back from Clara, the weight of her gaze pressing against him like a thick fog. It felt like her words hung in the air, snaking around him, whispering doubts that twisted like a knife in his gut. He turned, moving blindly toward the door leading to the garden, desperate for air, needful of clarity. Outside, the world felt sharper, every blade of grass and rustle of leaves pulling him back to reality. Still, he was imprisoned in his mind, replaying Clara's words, threats embedded in truths. His heart raced with a mixture of anger and fear. What kind of threats lurked in the shadows of his home, hidden behind the polished walls he had erected? As he paced the garden, the midday sun blazed overhead, but he felt a chill crawling along his skin. Amelia laughed joyfully somewhere in the distance. The sound was a sharp contrast to the turmoil brewing inside him. Each chuckle pierced his heart deeper. She was his world, yet so distant. He was losing her, day by day, hour by hour, and Clara was the harbinger of that failure. What role did Clara play in this new narrative? What could she possibly know that would turn him from father to villain? A grotesque thought crossed his mind. Was she in league with someone? A conspirator? Or merely a stoic observer wielding truths that could shatter him? Dad? The soft sound of Amelia's voice cut through his spiraling thoughts. She stood far enough away, a small figure bathed in the sunlight, her eyes curious yet uncertain. What's wrong? He forced a smile, but it felt more like a grimace. Nothing, sweetheart. Just thinking. About Clara? The question hit him like a punch. How could she know? Panic swept through him, tightening his chest. He stepped closer, needing to gauge her expression. Why would you say that? Amelia fidgeted with her hands, downcasting her gaze. She tells me stories. Her voice trailed off, hesitant yet revealing. Stories? Harold's voice was sharper than intended. What kind of stories? She paused, contemplating, her brow furrowing. About when she was a little girl. About her friends and what it was like growing up. So she fills your head with tales? The tension in Harold's voice felt foreign, unwelcome. He hated that Clara had woven herself into his daughter's life so intricately. It's nice to listen, Amelia defended, her voice gaining strength. She understands things I can't explain. You understand. You just don't get me, Harold recoiled, those words slicing through him with the force of a storm. He was losing her, she was slipping away, drowning in a sea of unspoken feelings. I do understand. He shouted, heat rising in him. I'm your father. Then prove it. She snapped back, her small frame shaking with emotion. Prove that you care. The silence that followed felt heavy, as though they were standing at the edge of an abyss, staring into the unknown. Harold's breath came in short, harsh gasps. How had it come to this? Why did he feel more estranged from Amelia now than ever? Maybe, he said slowly, testing the waters like a child unsure of a deep pool. Maybe I should talk to Clara. Amelia's expression changed in an instant. No. Don't do that. Why not? His heart raced, the walls were crumbling down around him, and he had to do something to rebuild. Because she's special, Dad. You don't know her, the real her. Talking to her will only make things worse. Amelia's voice trembled, tears brimming in her eyes, her vulnerability laid bare. Harold blinked, confusion swirling a tempest of thoughts and feelings. What do you mean? I can't tell you, she said, voice cracking under the pressure. You have to figure it out yourself. The moment stretched unbearably, time suspended in the air between them. Harold could see Amelia's struggle, her desire to share but also her fear. But what was there to figure out? What depths of understanding lay waiting for him to uncover? As they stood there, the shadows lengthened, whispers of the impending night brushing over them. What were the secrets that entwined Clara and Amelia? What hidden bond had formed in the silence of their whispered conversations? A sense of urgency washed over him, he needed to act. He needed to break down the walls that surrounded their fractured lives. What was the real truth that threatened to tear them apart? Harold felt the weight of Amelia's silence pressing down on him like a lead blanket. The last rays of sun danced across the garden, but all he could see were the shadows lurking in their lives, dark shapes that threatened to envelop them. His heart pounded not just with fear but with desperation, a primal urge to protect his daughter from whatever was lurking out there. Amelia, the name left his lips like an invocation, fragile and uncertain. Her gaze met his, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears that threatened to spill over. I need you to trust me. What do you know about Clara? I wish I could tell you, she whispered, her voice catching on a sob. But you won't believe me. No one ever does. What makes you think that? Please, sweetheart. You have to tell me. He reached out to her, but she flinched back. The space between them felt insurmountable, stretching further with every heartbeat. He could see her wanting to confide, yet fear rooted her feet in place. Suddenly, through the silence, a flicker of movement caught his eye. Clara stood just outside the garden's gate, her silhouette framed in the fading light. There was something different about her tonight. Beneath the soft glow of dusk, she appeared larger than life, the very air around her seemed charged with an unseen tension. "Clara!" Harold called out, summoning the last bit of resolve he possessed. She turned, her eyes locking onto his with an intensity that made him shiver. He saw the flash of something defiance. Fear? He couldn't quite place it. And just like that, Amelia stepped in front of him, desperate to shield herself. "No. Don't." Amelia's voice was panicked, pleading. "It's okay," Clara said softly, though tension rippled beneath her calm surface. She took a step forward, but it felt more like a trap closing in. "I'm here because I want to help." "Help?" Harold's voice dripped with skepticism. "Tell me, what do you know? What is this about?" "Please, Dad." Amelia's small hand tightened around Harold's arm, squeezing as if anchoring him in place. "I can't protect you both forever," Clara said, and for a moment, her eyes softened as she glanced at Amelia. "But the truth, it's not what you think it is." At that moment, he felt like he was standing on the edge of an abyss, the dark void revealing nothing but uncertainty. "What truth?" he pressed, desperation clawing at his throat. "Amelia is special," Clara replied, her voice a low murmur, as if afraid of drawing in even more shadows. "But it isn't just about her. There's something deeper, something I shouldn't have kept from you." "What do you mean?" His voice wavered, a mix of anticipation and dread. "Tell me." Then it happened. A sudden shiver swept the air. A gust of wind sent leaves swirling around them in chaotic dance. Clara hesitated, hesitation flashing across her features as if she were weighing an impossible choice. "Your daughter, she needs you to truly see her," Clara finally said, her voice trembling like the leaves in the storm. "And the truth could fracture everything you believe." As she spoke, Harold felt dread pooling in his stomach. What could shatter everything he thought he knew? The thought sent ice coursing through his veins. Amelia was tugging on his sleeve now, fear etched in her small face. "Dad, please. I can't lose you too." "Lose me?" The words ground against his heart, leaving splinters of confusion. "Amelia, I won't go anywhere." Just the night pressed close, and Clara stood shrouded in shadows, just out of reach. "You must ask the right questions," she whispered, the urgency brimming in her voice. "Before it's too late." As the last of the sunlight surrendered to the encroaching darkness, a terrifying thought crawled to the surface of Harold's mind. What if he was not just struggling to hold on to Amelia, but was on the verge of losing her forever to an unseen threat? The walls seemed to close in around him, and he felt the grip of fear tighten, but determination surged right alongside it. There was too much at stake. "In the morning," he said, trying to steady his voice, "I will uncover the truth." But deep within, a voice whispered back, would knowing the truth really set him free, or cage him in deeper? And then, just as shadows swallowed the garden, a scream rang out. It pierced the silence, raw and haunting, shattering the fragile moment they had shared. "Mom!" Harold's heart raced. What had he just opened the door to? The scream echoed through the darkening garden, reverberating in Harold's chest like thunder. A chill ran down his spine as he turned toward the sound, his heart thrumming painfully against his ribcage. "Amelia!" he shouted, panic surging within him. "Is that you?" His daughter clung to him, her grip like a vice. "No, Dad. We have to get inside." The garden felt alive, too alive, and as Clara's silhouette faded into the shadows, Harold's world started spinning. He tried to get a grip, but reality was slipping, and dread gnawed at his insides. What darkness had he stumbled into? "Amelia, stay close," he whispered, his voice strained. They started to retreat towards the house, the path feeling long and treacherous. As they stepped away from the garden, Harold's mind raced. He couldn't shake the words Clara had spoken, each one like a dagger digging deeper. What did she mean Amelia is special? It clawed at him, the mystery only deepening as fear sparked questions. The house loomed ahead, an old friend suddenly transformed into a stranger in the night. They hurried to the front door and burst inside, slamming it shut behind them with a decisive thud. The sudden silence enveloped them, heavy like a thick fog. "Dad, what's happening?" Amelia whispered, her voice trembling. Her eyes, wide and shadowed with fear, sought his assurance. In that moment, all he could see in her gaze was the reflection of his own confusion and dread. "Clara," he began, but the words felt rejected, slipping away like smoke. Before he could finish, the faint sound of footsteps emerged from the hallway. Harold spun around, adrenaline spiking. The floorboards creaked like an old legend awaking from slumber. "Just wait here," he whispered to Amelia, his heart pounding fiercely as he stepped cautiously toward the darkness ahead. Inside, shadows twisted across the walls. His pulse raced as he turned his back to the door, ready to confront whatever horror awaited him in this too familiar space. His senses heightened, he crept toward the source of the footsteps. "Is someone there?" he called softly, hoping to intimidate whatever lurked just beyond his sight. A figure emerged, illuminated by the dim light of the hallway lamp. It was Clara. Her face was pale, stricken, yet determined. "Harold!" she gasped, urgency etched deeply in her features. "You have to listen." "What's wrong?" The question slipped out, heavy with the weight of unseen burdens. "It's about Amelia," Clara said, stepping closer. "There's something you need to know, something I've been afraid to say." "Then say it." He felt frustration bubbling beneath the surface. All this mystery, all this fear, it was suffocating. Taking a deep breath, Clara hesitated, her eyes darting back toward Amelia. "The truth, it's dangerous. If I don't tell you, you may not realize how to protect her." "Protect her from what?" A tempest of emotions surged within him: fear, protectiveness, anger, confusion. "From what she doesn't see, Harold." "From what is coming for her," Clara replied, her voice low but trembling. In that charged moment, a sudden knock at the door shattered the fragile tension hanging in the air, jolting both of them. It was a heavy sound, the kind that carried foreboding shadows. "Dad! I'm scared!" Amelia cried from behind, her voice distant yet wrapped in deep alarm. "Don't open it," Clara urged, her eyes wide with concern. "What do you mean?" Harold started before the knock came again, more insistent this time. "Closer. Trust me. You need to help Amelia." Panic washed over him. The warning was clear: something dark lurked just outside that door. Whatever it was getting closer. He took a deep breath, each second coiling tighter around him like a noose. "I will protect her," he vowed, his voice firm. "No matter what." Just as he turned away from Clara, a strange chill burst through the room like icy fingers reaching into his soul. And before he could articulate a plan, the door began to tremble violently, as though something or someone wanted in. "Harold!" Clara's voice broke with dread, but just when he thought he couldn't bear it any longer, the trembling stopped. Silence fell like a shroud. "What now?" he breathed, heart pounding in his ears. But of one thing he was certain: it wasn't over, not by a long shot. And with one last, lingering thought, he wondered, could they really withstand whatever lay beyond their doorstep? The silence hung heavy, wrapping around Harold like a suffocating blanket. He held his breath, his mind racing. The lack of sound felt unnatural, as if the entire house had taken a collective inhale, waiting for the crescendo that would follow. "What was that?" Amelia's voice quivered behind him, a soft tremor that sliced through the tautness in the air, and Harold turned to her, his heart aching at the fear etched across her young face. "Probably just the wind," he said, trying to soothe her, even as uncertainty gnawed at his gut. "Not that the knock," she continued, her wide eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "It sounded different. Just as he opened his mouth to reassure her, a second, more violent bang erupted against the door, and for a moment, time froze. The walls felt like they were closing in. Harold glanced at Clara, her expression grim, as if she could sense the danger lurking just out of sight. "Harold," she whispered urgently, "if they're here, it's already too late." "What do you mean?" Panic clawed at Harold's throat. He felt an invisible weight pressing down, urging him to act. The front door rattled again, and a cold draft slithered in through the seams of the house. The flickering light overhead dimmed for a heartbeat, plunging them into an abyss of shadows. Somehow, his instincts kicked in. "Grab Amelia and head to the basement," he instructed Clara, his voice steadying even as adrenaline surged through him. "No. I won't leave you," Clara shouted, clenching her hands into fists. The fear in her eyes tore at him, and he felt a ripple of regret slithering through his resolve. "I can't let you face this alone," she insisted, stepping closer, as if to shield him from what they both feared lay behind the door. "I'll only be a moment," he said, forcing a false sense of calm into his voice. Deep down, he knew he might never come back. "You have to protect her." Before Clara could respond, Harold lifted the heavy metal handle, every muscle in his body tensed like a drawn bowstring. The door shuddered violently again, as if something impatient waited on the other side. With a slow, deliberate motion, he turned the knob, and the door creaked open, revealing nothing but darkness and the still air thick with anxiety. Peering into the void, he saw shadows flicker at the edges, dancing just beyond reach. "Show yourself," he called, his voice echoing into the emptiness. A breathless moment passed, the thrill of silence broken only by his own heartbeat. Just when he thought there might be an answer, a figure stepped from the shadows, stepping into the dim glow of the porch light. It was a man, tall and foreboding, eyes glinting like shards of ice. Harold's breath caught. He didn't recognize him, but the air around him felt charged, like electricity ready to snap. "Harold," the man said, a twisted grin spreading across his face. "It's time we had a talk." Behind him, Clara gasped. Amelia shrieked, and Harold felt a surge of primal fear. "Get back!" he shouted at Clara, pushing her and Amelia behind him, his instincts kicking into overdrive. The man laughed, a sound that sent chills racing down Harold's spine. "You think you can protect them?" His voice dripped with mockery. "From me? From what I know? What do you want?" Harold demanded, stepping further into the doorway, shielding his daughter and Clara instinctively, every nerve in his body alight with danger. The man leaned closer, his eyes narrowing. "To show you how delicate your little world really is." Harold could feel the threat lacing the man's words, the way they wrapped around him, squeezing tighter with each syllable. As the realization settled over Harold, a sudden noise erupted from the darkness behind them, an unmistakable sound of frantic rustling. His heart sank as he turned, dread flooding through him. Something was stirring just beyond the threshold, something they hadn't anticipated. In a split second, Harold's fight or flight instinct surged, and he shouted out, "Get Amelia to the basement. Now!" But as Clara bolted to obey, the man seized the moment. He lunged forward, his hands outstretched, and the deep sense of foreboding rushed in. What was waiting for them beyond the door? How could he keep his family safe when shadows licked at their heels? Harold had no idea what kind of monster he was facing, and as the darkness closed in around them, he braced himself for whatever was about to come crawling into their lives. The world outside fell silent as the man advanced. Harold's instincts screamed at him to act, but he froze, heart hammering in his chest. The weight of his choices was suddenly unbearable. Clara was trying to pull Amelia back, but the young girl's wide eyes were locked onto the figure, a blend of fear and confusion dancing across her small features. "Stay behind me," Harold barked, stepping forward, every ounce of courage pouring into his voice. Adrenaline surged through his veins like fire, igniting in him an urgency he hadn't known he possessed. "Such a brave father," the man cooed mockingly, his icy gaze fixed on Harold. But bravery won't save you. Before Harold could respond, the sudden rustling intensified behind him. It was a sound that felt alive, teeming with chaos. He turned just in time to see a shadow dart into the light, a creature, hunched and wild, breaking free from the darkness of their home. "Get back!" Harold shouted again, his heart racing as he charged forward, positioning himself between his family and the new threat. The thing was small, maybe the size of a child, but its eyes glimmered with a malice that made Harold's skin crawl, and it moved with a speed that was almost unearthly. "Harold!" Clara cried, her voice cracking with fear. "What is that?" "I don't know," he yelled. "Just get Amelia to safety." He lunged at the creature, swatting it away in a desperate attempt to shield his family. It twisted and hissed, revealing sharp teeth glistening in the dim light. Black tendrils seemed to spill from its form, creeping like smoke around his legs. The man behind them stood back, an amused smile stretching across his face. "This is just the beginning, my friend. You'll learn quickly how fragile your illusions of safety really are." But before Harold could engage him verbally, the creature lunged, claws outstretched, ripping through the air with a screech that rattled his bones. In a frantic sweep, he caught its arm, pinning it down with one hand. "Amelia! Clara! Go!" he roared, struggling to keep the creature at bay. It writhed beneath him, its flesh pulsing and vibrating against his grip. Clara grabbed Amelia's hand, pulling her back toward the hallway. The sounds of their footsteps echoed distant and muffled as if they were already running toward a terror he couldn't fathom. All he hoped was that they'd find safety, that they'd escape whatever was hunting them tonight. With renewed vigor and fear clawing at his insides, Harold wrestled with the creature, forcing it down to the ground. "What do you want?" he shouted, desperation creeping into his voice. The creature hissed, the words spilling from its lips like poison. "To show you the truth." Suddenly, the man laughed loudly, a laugh dripping with disdain. "Look how far you've fallen, Harold. Trust your instincts all you like, they'll lead you to ruin." All the while, it felt like shadows were swirling around them, whispering threats that sent chills racing down his spine. If he lost the fight, what would become of Clara and Amelia? With one final, terrifying twist, the creature broke free from Harold's grip. It dashed toward the hallway, the weight of its purpose clear. Bile rose in Harold's throat as he lunged after it, but it was too late. Clara's scream pierced the suffocating silence as the creature vanished into the shadows, no longer visible. Panic gripped Harold, and he skidded to a halt. He turned to the man, who stepped forward, a sinister grin playing on his lips. "Now the fun begins." What did the creature want? What dark revelation was waiting for them? Harold's mind raced as he peeled his eyes away from the man, knowing now that he was fighting against more than just a physical threat. He was fighting against a reality that could shatter everything he'd built to protect his family. And in that moment, the unknown felt more dangerous than any monster lurking in the dark. Harold's breath came in ragged gasps, each exhale mingling with the bitter chill of fear as he turned back toward the hallway. It felt like an eternity had passed since Clara and Amelia disappeared into the shadows, but he couldn't waste a moment. He sprinted forward, his heart pounding a furious rhythm against his rib cage. What had happened to them? His mind conjured images worse than any horror movie he'd ever seen. "Clara!" he shouted, his voice raw and desperate, echoing into the dark expanse. Silence answered, thick with dread. Each step seemed to sink heavier into the floor, the weight of the creature's malevolence pressing relentlessly down on his shoulders. The walls felt like they were closing in, and the air was saturated with a tension that choked him. Suddenly, a light flickered ahead, momentarily shattering the shadows. He rushed toward it, guided by instinct and sheer terror. It was the living room, bathed in an unnatural glow, flickering like a dying star. In the center stood Clara, clutching Amelia protectively against her side, eyes wide with horror. Between them and Harold lurked the creature, its hunched form writhing, as if it were trying to shed its very existence. The air crackled with a sense of doom. "Stay back!" Harold shouted, pushing forward but stopping short as Clara's wide-eyed gaze met his. It's talking to her," Clara breathed, her voice barely above a whisper. Before Harold could process her words, the creature's head jerked up, locking eyes with him. Those malicious orbs glinted with an intelligence that sent a chill down his spine. "You should listen. What you think you're protecting, it's already in danger." "What do you want?" Harold demanded, fury mixing with desperation. "I want you to see what's unfolding," the creature hissed, its voice more human than he'd care to admit. "That which you hold dear is nothing but a fragile illusion." Amelia's expression shifted from fear to confusion, as if caught between innocence and understanding. "Daddy?" she called, voice trembling. "No. Don't listen to it." Harold snapped, instinctively stepping closer to defend his family, but longing for answers was churning within him. What truth could lie behind its words? Then, the man from before stepped into the room, unhurried. "Witness the chaos you've created," he said smoothly, his voice a silken threat. "This is all part of the game. And you, Harold, are the pawn." "Game? What game?" Harold's mind raced, piecing together the implications dripping from the man's lips. "The game where you learn that there's no sanctuary for the weak," the man replied with a sinister smile. "In this world, everyone has a price." Harold's heart pounded as realization sunk in. The stakes were far more sinister than he had anticipated. The shadows danced menacingly around them, creeping along the walls, whispering their secrets. "Clara, Amelia, we need to get out of here," Harold said, urgency flooding his tone. But the creature shifted, blocking the exit, muscles taut and ready to pounce. "There's nowhere to run," it hissed, advancing slowly, each inch covered with an unsettling grace. "The truth will catch you. Move, now." Harold urged, but his voice faltered as Clara's gaze stayed fixed on the creature's piercing eyes. There was something hypnotic about them, a siren song luring her in. Suddenly, a sound burst forth from the darkness, a metallic clang, echoing like a gunshot. Harold's heart leaped as he turned just in time to see the black tendrils twisting back into the creature, as if reeling from an unseen force. "What was that?" he yelled, adrenaline coursing through him, urging him to take action. Before anyone could respond, the shadows began to swirl around them faster, a vortex of terror ready to swallow them whole. The creature's form jerked in the turbulence, its own malevolence tangible in the air, and Harold felt the walls close in around him again. "Who holds the truth?" the creature screeched, a wild grin twisting its mouth. In that instant, Harold understood his choices could mean the difference between life and death for Clara and Amelia. But was it too late to alter their fate? As the shadows folded over them, he felt hope slip away, consumed by nameless horrors. The game was intensifying, and he was running out of time. "Get ready!" he shouted, determination hardening in his chest. But the question clawed at him: if truth had a price, what would he be willing to pay to protect his family? And would they survive whatever dark revelation awaited them? The shadows bore down on Harold, swirling like a storm ready to unleash its fury. He barely noticed when Clara's grip on Amelia loosened for the briefest moment. Instinctively, he lunged forward, reaching for her. The realization struck him anew: she was just as trapped as he was, and the creature was feeding off that fear. "Clara! Grab Amelia!" His shout burst forth, cutting through the thick air, but the words felt empty in the face of such horror. The creature laughed, a sound so warped it sent shivers down Harold's spine. "She is already lost to you," it taunted, each word dripping with malice. "You should have listened to what you feared." Amelia looked scared and confused, her little brow furrowing. She didn't understand. And that fact clawed at his heart like a well-sharpened knife. "Don't listen to it. Focus on me, come to me," he pleaded, desperation spilling into his voice. The flickering light flared, casting frantic shadows across the room, twisting faces into grotesque masks. Clara stood frozen, caught in the creature's spell. Her eyes shimmered with a haunting brightness, almost entranced. "Clara, please." Harold felt panic rising, tightening his throat. He knew he had to break the hold before it took her completely. The room trembled as he pulled every ounce of courage together. "Clara, I love you. Remember that day at the park? Our first picnic?" Her expression wavered, doubt creeping into her gaze, as if the familiar memory acted like a lifeline breaking through the fog. "Harold?" "Yes. That's it. Focus on our memories. We can fight this." He took a step closer, every heartbeat resonating with the hope of their shared past. But the creature snarled, the once seductive energy in the air twisted into something more sinister. "You think your fond memories can combat the truth?" It growled, advancing, muscles coiling with ancient rage. "Instead, let me show you what lies beneath. Let me show you the cost of your love." The walls trembled. An anguished whisper echoed, "Help us." A voice that seemed more spirit than human melted through the air, urging Harold to remember those he'd lost. For a fleeting moment, the frenzy stalled, the creature paused, eyes flickering with uncertainty. "Stop it!" Harold shouted, unyielding in his resolve. "You don't own us." And then, from the shadow's edges, a blinding light erupted, illuminating the room with the intensity of 1,000 suns. Clara gasped, and a fresh noise, the sharp scent of desperation and fury, filled the air. The creature hissed, recoiling, its body writhing as if the light burned its very essence. "Leave us!" Clara screamed, finally breaking the enchantment. She clasped Amelia's hand tightly, determination forcing out the remaining haze. "Now!" Harold surged toward them, grabbing Clara and Amelia, pulling them into a protective embrace, his heart racing, beating loudly in the stillness. But before they could take a step toward the door, the creature screeched, its voice a cacophony of rage and anguish. "You will regret breaking free. This isn't over. The game has only just begun." With that, the light flickered, dimming as a dark wind regained its grip, hurling them backward. The strength of the shadows returned, wrapping around them like a malevolent fog. Harold's heart sank as he realized something: this creature was not merely a figment but a part of a greater darkness lying just beyond reality. "Hold on. I'll find a way out," he urged, the weight of their lives hanging on the line. Their only chance was to find clarity and fight, but the path beyond the shadows seemed more shrouded than ever. As the dark whispers clawed at their sanity, another truth began to materialize with terrifying clarity: each moment lost to fear meant another layer of the creature's hold on them. But what lay unseen in the curtain of shadows? A darker game with even darker stakes? Harold remembered the man's sinister smile, and the chill deepened within him. Time was slipping like sand between their fingers, and with each second, they edged closer to an inevitable reckoning. "Are you ready?" he asked Clara, voice trembling. Knowing the answer might change everything, with a final glare at the encroaching dark, they braced for what was coming next: a truth that could cost them their future, or worse, their lives. But the turmoil was only just beginning. The fragile peace of the Fitzpatrick mansion was shattered, leaving echoes of terror swirling like dust in the air. Harold clutched Clara and Amelia to him, their warmth a stark contrast to the cold gripping his heart. He could feel the creature's darkness pressing in, an unseen force, hungry for their fear and despair. "Remember the light." Clara gasped, her grip tightening on Amelia's hand, urgency flooding her pitch. "It's the key. We must focus on it." Harold nodded, fighting against the panic blooming in his chest. The flickering light was more than just a protective bubble, it was their chance at liberation, their tether to a reality where love triumphed over shadows. He drew in a steadying breath, letting the memory of that first picnic wash over him: a day filled with warmth and laughter, where everything seemed possible. Amelia, he said, kneeling before her, think of your happiest moment. Remember when we went to the beach? The sound of the waves, the sun setting in brilliant colors. Hold on to that feeling. Amelia's eyes flickered with something between fear and hope, and as Harold watched, he could see a small smile touch her lips. The sea, she murmured, and suddenly it was as if the air shimmered with possibility, pulling them closer to the vibrant memories they cherished. Clara cupped Amelia's face, her voice steadying with an inner resolve. Amelia, focus. We are stronger together. Let the love we share pierce this darkness. With that, Clara's voice sliced through the tension like a blade. The creature hissed, agitated, as if sensing the tide turning. You think memories can save you? It spat, twisting its body as it advanced. The shadows thickened, crawling along the walls to intercept the light. You'll fail, just like the others. But Harold couldn't let the creature's taunt seep into his spirit. He took a step forward, Amy and Clara fanning out beside him in a show of solidarity. We are not afraid of you. He shouted, his voice echoing through the tense air. You are nothing but a reflection of our fears, and we will not be your playthings. The creature paused, its twisted visage faltering as if the conviction in Harold's words struck a chord. Clara squeezed Amelia's hand tighter, her eyes lit with fierce determination. Together, we can cast you out. In that instant, they came together, forming a circle of strength. A bright light erupted from the center, burning away the gripping shadows inch by painful inch. The creature screeched, a sound that clawed at Harold's sanity, but he ignored it, focusing instead on the warmth radiating from his daughter, from Clara, the light fueled by love, stubborn and unwavering. Now! Clara yelled, raising their joined hands toward the oppressive darkness. Let it shine. Let it break the chains. The light burst forth, pure and blinding, flooding every corner of the room. The creature writhed, its form losing shape, desperation washing over its face. No! You cannot escape your destiny. It hissed, slowly losing its form against the brilliance surrounding them. Watch us! Harold roared, their combined voices rising against the panicked screech of the creature. Suddenly, the figures of the loved ones they had lost swirled around, faces of strength, encouragement, and love from beyond. And then it struck an overwhelming wave of light that crashed over the room, dissolving the shadows like mist under the sun. The creature shrieked one last time, and in a blinding flash, it was gone. In the silence that followed, Harold felt a weight lift from his chest, the atmosphere softening as daylight began to seep in through the windows. He stood, breathless and trembling, staring at the space where the creature had been. Clara turned to him, tears of relief streaming down her face. Harold, we did it. We faced the darkness together. Amelia, too, was smiling, her face shining with hope. We were brave, right, Dad? She beamed. Yes, my love. We were, he replied, pulling them both into a tight embrace. The shadows had retreated, revealing the light that had always existed within their family, the strength born from love, confronting their fears rather than fleeing, but a question lurked in Harold's mind, a whisper of concern. What now? He asked softly, looking at Clara. We move forward, Clara said, stepping back to face him. We live without fear, choosing joy over despair. A moment of silence followed as they held each other's gaze, the unspoken promise of a future filled with hope and healing lingering in the air. As they began to step out of the ruins of that dark night, Harold took a deep breath, finally exhaling the heaviness that had settled in his chest. They emerged into the world outside, bathed in bright morning light, a fresh start, one filled with possibility and united strength, and as they moved forward, something profound settled within Harold. He realized that the greatest treasures lay not in wealth or power but in the connections forged with those he loved. He would protect that bond fiercely, navigating the unknowns ahead together. The mansion stood behind them, a now silent testament to battles fought. But in their hearts, they held the victorious light, a beacon of hope, ready to guide them into whatever lay ahead. As they walked away, Harold felt something crack open within him, something that whispered of second chances and lasting bonds. With Clara by his side and Amelia's laughter ringing out, he knew their family had conquered darkness, emerging stronger, more resilient, and ready to embrace the beauty of life again. And in that moment, as the sun warmed their backs and spread its golden rays across them, Harold vowed never to let shadows silence their joy again. Now, let us all take a moment. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for our journey together. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep these epic tales coming. Don't forget to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about what just went down. And please, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion because they've got a crucial story to catch up on too. Don't wait even one more second. Let us keep this community strong and connected.